Ladies and gentlemen, it is 3 p.m. in a beautiful, beautiful sunny afternoon here in the Netherlands. Let's get started. Let's talk today about microscopy. Until about 15 years ago, it wasn't possible to see things that were smaller than half the wavelength of light. We can now observe much greater detail inside living systems. We can understand why proteins go wrong, leading to diseases like Parkinson's. The photonics industry is well advanced in developing optical microscopes that fit on a chip. That requires LEDs 1,000 times smaller than a human hair. Focused visible light is key to real-time detection of viruses and DNA. Recently, there have been huge developments in this industry from companies like Thermo Fisher, Zeiss, Olympus, Hitachi, Jenoptik, Leica. So get involved in our deep dive discussion of industry's role in OCT, holography, and advanced 3D imaging. To be part of our conversation, sign up online or simply follow us live on the Epic YouTube channel. Monday, 13th of July, 3 p.m. Central European Time should be in your field of view. We all should be in your field of view because this is a meeting to do business, a meeting to connect, and it's the 38th meeting that we organize. It's totally crazy. Since the 31st, since actually the 1st of April, when we decided to go into this amazing adventure of organizing 39 meetings during the COVID-19 times and making sure that you all could experience still the connections of Epic in these very bizarre times. I have a couple of things to show you. The first one is to tell you that even though many of you I know they are very sad because the Epic online technology meetings are finishing, and on Wednesday we have a great meeting with 5 car makers telling us about their needs in ADAS and autonomous driving. But bad news for you who are happy because they are finishing, because they are not. We continue on the 31st of August. We come back. We already have meetings scheduled almost every Monday until Christmas. And these are the topics. You can find the full discussion, the full description about these topics in our website, www.epic-asoc.com. You can find everything you need to know about this. But if you need to know more about it, remember that Epic has right now 15 people full-time, half of them with PhDs, to answer any technical question that you may have. Most of your questions are, does my technology fit the scope? If you're a member, we'll make the scope fit your technology because that's what we do. And that's what we do now to almost 600 companies who are member of Epic. Thank you so much for the great support that you keep giving us in these difficult times. I cannot wait to go back on the road. But in the meantime, I think we had done the best we could do with a very bizarre situation during this amazing few last weeks. I have to say that 15 people, all of us fully dedicated to you, and you can ask us anything, whether it's events, whether it's connecting with any of our people that are in our 15,000 people in our network. We can connect you with any of them. You're looking for investment, you're have all job openings or looking for a job. We have jobsinphotonics.com, which by the way is now the biggest worldwide website in finding a job in photonics, and we have 17,000 market data, view graphs, data analysis. All of you have full access. Well, the ones of you who are members of Epic have full access to these fantastic market reports. But we are not talking about Epic today. We are talking about microscopy. So first of all, I would like to thank our sponsors. Thank you, these 6 amazing companies. NIT, all the way from France, making these weird, fantastic detectors. FISBA, you're looking for a company that is involved in micro-optics, who can actually assemble instruments for you based on those micro-optics. FISBA in Switzerland is the best way to go. Chroma, perhaps the best optical filters in the market. Actar, if you're looking for black coatings or fully black absorbance mirrors, these are the guys to go. Actar, Asphericon, Aspheric Optics, Freeform Optics, high-end optics. This is one of the key companies who have in the capital of optics in Jena, and Oxxius, laser diodes in any wavelength from the visible all the way to the short infrared. Oxxius is one of the key companies that we have in the field of laser diodes for microscopy, for LiDAR, for any particular application. We are lucky to have these 6 companies, and we are even luckier to have Dr. Francesca Moglia with us. Francesca, what's in the menu today?
Thank you very much, Jose, for the introduction. So as we see here, we have the 9 speakers. So very good that they are there, but the 9 speakers are not giving exactly the right image like this one. So really like to have the full value chain of today. So it's really interesting for us to see. We start this day for talking about microscopy. So we are interested in an end user from research. So EMBL will be there. Thank you for joining us. But of course, we talk with also with the microscope manufacturers. So we have a really nice contribution today from Opto, Nikon, LAMBDA-X, Linsitech. So they are all here to discuss with us. But then, of course, they cannot be the microscope without all the stuff that is needed for a microscope. So that's why we really welcome also all the participants from the microscopy components, for the microscopy sensors and detectors. The optics, of course, many contributions, filters and coatings. The microscope objectives are, of course, also important. Light guides, very important. And positioning, scanning, automation is also a really important part. Then we have all the good family of the lasers. So it's really nice to have still laser diodes, ultra-fast lasers, and super continuum lasers here. I'm also happy to say it's like a deja vu. There is someone here today sitting that it was at the first meeting on 1st of April where I was there, and now is my last meeting and he's also there. So very nice to have you here. And then system engineering, prototyping, manufacturing services, really important as well. So really welcome that you're here. And now this time, I usually like to mention them at the beginning, but this time I will mention them at the end. The microscopy R&D is really important for us today because we have end users using and being experts of microscopy, but we have also great developers that are also aiming at new products that will come up soon. So it's really important to have them here today as well. And with this, I guess I can give the word back to Jose.
Francesca is very soon going on holiday, so you can notice in the tone of her voice, so excited. Francesca, have fantastic holidays after this meeting. I have to say that we are broadcasting this meeting in YouTube, so hello YouTubers. If you're watching this meeting from the swimming pool, just have a swim and then come back all refreshed. jose.pozo@epic-asoc.com is the email address you can use to connect with any of the participants in the Zoom room today. This is also valid for people in the Zoom room. Please use the internal chat to connect with each other during the meeting. But if you want to get in contact with each other after the meeting, all you have to do is send me an email, jose.pozo@epic-asoc.com, and we'll make the introduction. It takes me no time. It's all fully automated process. You don't really have to worry. I love connecting the industry. And I also love when innovation goes to industry. And that's why I would like to introduce our first speaker today. I'm going to go to a beautiful city, Barcelona, all the way to ICFO, one of the lead centers in research in Europe. And I'm going to introduce an entrepreneur who's going to bring the top world-class research of ICFO to the market in the field of microscopy. Luke Dümpelmann, thank you very much for joining us today in this beautiful and perhaps sunny afternoon in Barcelona. The floor and the attention of everyone is yours.
Great, thank you very much. So I hope you can see my screen.
Clearly.
It is really a great pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. And I have the honor to start this very exciting and beautiful meeting. So today I want to talk about something really exciting. The project we have is about lens-free interferometric microscope. And it's basically a very sensitive, compact and inexpensive imaging system to detect nanometric features on large areas. As you see here on the right-hand side, this is a typical image of 10 nanometer thick features in silica we are often detecting. But before I go more into the technology, I would briefly like to highlight where we are from. Like Jose just mentioned before, we are located in Barcelona. So we are part of the Institute of Photonic Sciences, ICFO, in Barcelona. And ICFO, from its very early beginning from 2002, has a strong demand of pushing research projects to the market. And since then, it already founded 8 spin-off companies, and we are now in the process of being incubated and ready to be launched to the market soon. I would also like to highlight briefly that my colleague Roland gave a talk at an online meeting on biosensors recently, so it's a very similar concept, but for biosensors if someone is interested. So our technology is basically that we have a beam which then is separated into 2 components, as you see here on this image. And these two components of the beams, they are sheared by 50 micrometers, separated apart, and then travel through the sample. After the sample, they are interfered, and we measure an interference pattern. So any geometrical or refractive index changes of the sample can then be monitored in a differential way and quantified. Due to this setup and the very small shear distance between the reference and the sample beam, we have a very stable and robust imaging technique, which is really quite unique. We are using a collimated beam, so it's not only one beam, but many beams at the same time, just next to each other. And these beams and the whole technology is integrated in a prototype, as you see here on the left-hand side. So this prototype is just about a handful, so it is very compact and can be integrated into manufacturing plants. It is also very sensitive, so we have about 0.1 nanometer noise floor without any vibration control or temperature stabilization. And it is very versatile since we can also measure transmission and reflection at the same time. We're using standard components like CMOS chips and LED sources, which gives us the possibility to have really a cost-efficient device. And because we're using LEDs, this also allows us to use different wavelengths. So we can use any kind of wavelengths along the whole spectrum because the technology is achromatic in that sense. Because the whole system is lens-free, the area we are measuring is really big. So currently we have a field of view larger than 35 square millimeters, but we basically can go much larger just due to a higher, bigger camera. Now, on the right-hand side, you see some types of measurements we can do. So we can measure structures on the surface. We can also measure change of refractive index in the material, and we can measure both. So basically, changes embedded in the material and also structures on the surface itself. So for what can we use this kind of technology? So these are three different fields of applications where we see ourselves we can really bring value. So one is for quality control, as you see on the left-hand side. We can detect any particulates and defects on completely transparent substrates and in a rapid manner and over a large area. We can also analyze embedded structures, as shown in the center. These are transparent electrodes of a touch display. So here we can use this for quality control, but also to characterize the refractive index. Due to the lens-free setup, we also have a large depth of view, so we can see overlaying layers of these material. And finally, we can also detect any kind of features which are embedded in the volume, as you see on the right-hand side. So this is an image where features were written in a glass structure at different layers, and we can automatically then evaluate the three-dimensional position of these features. So overall, I hope I was able to briefly show you what kind of platform we have. This platform can be used as a standalone imaging system, as an inline inspection tool due to its compactness, but also as an add-on for existing imaging platform. So basically that someone can use their own imaging system. We are currently looking for partners and collaborators to further develop, testify, and adapt these technologies to their corresponding needs. And at the same time, we're also looking for universities, companies, research centers who are willing and interested to use this system as users or customers. And obviously, we're also very open to measure your samples if you would send them. And yeah, we basically see several areas of applications where we really see that this kind of device could be very useful. which are mainly highlighted in the right-hand side. So for optics, electronics, and some materials for infrastructure. So with that, I will be very open, very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Luke. Thank you for your interesting, really super interesting technology. And now we can go back to our room and say, you kind of already answered the questions of EPIC. So what can you do for them? What can they do for you? You already pretty much offered this. But so let's say we can go to the question. And I see we have a question in the chat. So maybe Samuel can ask yourself the question. Samuel? Are you there? Okay, maybe I just, yeah, we don't hear you. Okay, maybe I ask the question in the meanwhile. Sure. Maybe for you. So inexpensive, could you speak of the price? Maybe on the order?
So, I mean, this obviously depends on the volume and the kind of applications, but I can say that we are really using a very cheap CMOS camera and an LED light. So basically the components in itself are quite inexpensive. And for this, we're just using a camera.
Very diplomatic answer. Very good, Luke.
But I think we should maybe talk.
Exactly. Yeah, I apologize. We don't ask this question usually, but you answer very well. You got already into that. So then another question from my side, I would say, when you said you can also move to larger areas, because this may be important for your future application in a larger volume. What do you mean with larger? You can go to larger. So how much is the throughput you imagine? So like per phase per time, do you have an estimation already for this?
So I think this really just, from the hardware side, it just depends on the size of the camera and the imaging source. I just checked, like the biggest cameras are 20 centimeters. So we could even envision this. From the software side, we have some reconstruction to do. So this would consume some more time, but this could be optimized. So I think it really depends on the kind of application, but I could see that we could even image wafer scale instantly.
Very good. Then it's already definitely very flexible. Then I see Valentin. Please, you can ask a question.
Yes, hi, thank you. Look, I have maybe I think 2 questions for you. The first one is on what type of sample did you already try your technique? So did you only try on materials, like change refractive index in materials, or did you try other type of samples? And the second question I think I had is, what is the typical computational time? So do you do real-time measurements, or is it always like post-processing?
Yeah, thank you for your questions. So we use different kind of materials, so from glass to metal, semi-transparent nanostructures. So it can be basically any kind of structures. So we don't see directly a limit of this. The samples themselves can also be very thick because it's a lens-free system. And concerning your second question about the computation time, currently we have 2 imaging modes, basically. So one, we have a live qualitative phase imaging, which is like 10 frames per second, roughly, depending on the image size. And then we have a quantitative phase image acquisition, which currently takes about 1 minute, but we are at the moment really optimizing this, that it can also be real time.
Okay, thank you.
Very good, very good. Are there other questions for Luke? Yeah, Peter, please.
Hi, Luke. What you say you use LEDs? What's your kind of LED input system? And what are you using? Your own LEDs? Or are you using commercial ones, or?
So we're using commercial LEDs. They are fiber coupled, and yeah, we have 4 different wavelengths currently, which we fiber couple into the system, but we can use 1 or even more. We're also using a tunable laser source, so we can basically scan through all the wavelengths.
So your fibers are fibers or liquid light guides?
Fibers.
Fibers. Okay. Thank you.
Great. So if it's not the case to add other questions because I don't see anybody. We can go. No, Valentin, last last opportunity.
Sorry, I have
no problem.
another question for this. Luke, so when you say that you do also like a quantitative phase measurement, so did you compare your technique to, I would say, standard technique to make sure that what you measure is actually true? Let's say, for example, did you try to measure calibrated samples? And let's say if you have a known change of refractive index, did you try to compare your measurements and make sure it's a real absolute measurement, or?
So from the geometrical side or the structures, we always fabricate samples in-house and then also measure them with other standard techniques. For refractive index changes, we have some standard solutions to compare also where we are. What we are now doing is that we will soon also measure some standard samples from meteorological institutes.
Very good, very good. So now I guess we can go forward because still not other thoughts from other people. So now it's time for Markus from Opto. And thank you, Luke, again for your talk. So Markus, if you want, the floor is yours and you can share your screen. If you go to Control L, it's even larger. Otherwise, Yep, very good. The floor is yours. But you have to unmute yourself. Markus?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, very good.
Sorry.
Now it's all there.
Yeah,
there you go.
Now, okay, coming out of the beautiful Munich. So we are microscope manufacturers doing special microscopes since 40 years, coming out of Leica, doing this special equipment. At the moment, we are doing imaging modules, a real compact microscope philosophy towards Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence. But we are coming very much out of the OEM industry, doing special microscopes inside machineries, completely custom made. Now my screen. Now, okay, so these are the OEM modules that we are doing for refractive eye surgery lasers. For the LASIK industry, we are doing the complete optical head. For some of the major companies, we are doing for electrophoresis applications, a multifluorescence microscope. We make 16 fluorescences in 3 to 4 seconds. So a very high speed fluorescence, 200, 300 images for one sample. We are also in the field of semiconductor, looking at pixels. Embryo IVF is a big market for us. And then, yes, indeed, complete screening solutions. We are a producer. We are really producing all these parts. These are some standard products that are on the market. We are market leader in inspecting automotive cylinders. We're doing cleanliness control systems that others are distributing, or a very specific part where we are also market leader, I would say, in hacking credit cards. We're making laser fault injection systems. So we're injecting laser into a microscope where we can then adjust the laser on the surface to penetrate semiconductors. The imaging modules, what is an imaging module? An imaging module are the newest IMX sensors. We concentrate on a one-wire concept that only one wire is going away from the device. We have, since 40 years, many hundreds of optical designs that we are incubating now in the frames. We are doing our own electronics, our own LEDs in this limited form factors. We have a big software team, about 8 people in France, Montélimar, so quite south in France. And out of this, we can bring principally hundreds of plug-and-play imaging modules to the market. And that's what we are doing. We are doing microscopes. There are a handful. It's a USB microscope, tube lens, coax illumination, and so on. So that's how it looks on a stand. So this was a semiconductor application. Our idea is to interpret Industry 4.0 in many, many microscopes, bringing the information to the cloud, and then doing computational imaging, computational microscopy. We have bigger catalog of stands. Calibration targets is a very nice feature for many microscopists. We have calibration targets with about 1,200, 1,300 line pairs per millimeter. on them. They're DKD certified, so to make it a calibration target, and then other situations. Parallel, we're always doing big research work. For example, we are really doing complete microscope lab environment or lab assistance systems. So it's from sensors, 3D sensors to move towards artificial intelligence. We are in the forensic, in a microfluidic application where we are analyzing pollen on the flow. I mentioned the IVF market where we have many systems outside. And then a big platform is this platform of fluorescence. We always say the image counts. The image must go to the cloud, must go to the customer. So we are not making compromise on the image, we're making compromise on the microscope itself. If you buy a big Leica or a size microscope, you can afford 3 or 4 microscopes with the same classification or the same quality, but okay, only one application, measurement ready and ready to go. What can we do for EPIC? As we are coming out of two main areas, we're coming out of the photonic. So it's the lasers, it's the microscopes, but we are also have a big footprint in machine vision. So quick image analysis, all that about what you know. So we can be your glue here. We can offer the members 40 years of microscopy know-how, building microscopes, buying components, supplying components. We are a contract manufacturer for doing this for the members towards all the software. How can EPIC help us? Mainly do what you do. Okay, so it's a quite innovative platform. We like it. That's why we joined it recently. Shout out loud that we are existing and what we do. So that's why we are here. And some things I would like to enforce is a little bit Industry 4.0, computational microscopy. I think these are really future topics that should be addressed heavily also in the photonics industry. Thanks a lot. That's it.
Thank you very much, Markus. Thank you for an exciting presentation. You're a great speaker and you also managed to keep it in time, so I'm twice thankful to you. You answered the EPIC question, asking people to know that you exist, and that was the reason you joined EPIC, and I'm going to shout to the world that in the coming years, together with Francesca, we're going to be everywhere telling people about the OEM modules of Markus. Any question for Opto? For me, one of the very interesting things that you said in your slides was about the multifluorescence. I actually put it in the chat. This is quite impressive what you're doing there. I have the hand up from Didier from LAMBDA-X. Didier.
Yes, Markus, I would like to ask you if you have experience in the hyperspectral imaging image processing.
Yes, so we are doing some microfluidic together with a university in Jena, the IPHT, and they are using hyperspectral imaging. So we are doing multifluorescence, so it's more the microscopy part, but okay, it's also multispectral. But the typical multispectral thing using these IMEX sensors. We are running a project for microfluidic applications to detect cells and units, and we are provided the microscope there for apochromatic, corrected the right chip on it. Yeah, that's it.
Markus, I'm going to introduce you to two people, one on each side in the supply chain. So you can connect with potential people on the high side to supply and others to actually collaborate and to integrate. The first one is from Nikon, René Mosters. René, thank you very much for joining this meeting. I contacted you last week in LinkedIn. I'm so thankful that you are here with us. In a meeting like this, a meeting about cooperations, what does Nikon expect? And do you have an answer to the EPIC question? What can they do for you? What can you do for them?
Thank you for allowing me to join this meeting. I just started the position of European Product Manager at Nikon July 1st. So today I was planning to just listen in. No. But I have a question actually for Markus. I think that the future developments in the photonics industry are of crucial importance for societies around the world. And Nikon is very aware of this. And that's why I like to participate in this meeting. So Markus, can I ask you a question about the high-speed microscopy section? You said you are also into that. Can you give me a concrete example of an application from Opto in high-speed microscopy section?
So mainly it's cell counting, it's a microfluidic. So we are speaking here 100 frames per second and more. So as we are using standard CMOS sensors, we can detect regions of interest. That's what I call high speed. So yes, indeed, we have a big footprint from the machine vision industry to line scan cameras also, but that's not a microscopic topic at that moment, maybe later for screening. We know about these technologies, but we don't see an application for line scan at that moment. So it's more defining regions of interest on a CMOS sensor.
Thank you. That's very important. You mentioned this, and I will try to pick these things up as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
René, I'm going to come back to you a lot more during this time. So you were planning to just listen. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but we really, really want to help you in your new job. I'm going to go now, Markus, to the other side of the supply chain. You know, Francesca and I plan these meetings with months in advance, right? And then we see something the very last minute and we take the advantage. When I started this meeting, somebody in YouTube actually told me about a new company, Dümpelmann, and I thought, hey, you should be in the meeting actually and tell us how we can help you. They have a new light field eyepiece. Thank you very much, Cesar, for joining this meeting. Cesar?
Thank you, Jose.
Can you switch on the camera? We really want to see you.
Yeah, but the camera is not connected because I'm connected to the TV. So,
all right, we'll forgive you this time.
Yeah,
what
this
is,
time for
what
the
is
next time.
Dümpelmann?
Sure.
Plenoptic.
Yeah, well, Dümpelmann was founded because of the studies, the research and development in the University of Valencia. And well, these full professors in the optics department, they developed a compact device based on Plenoptic 3.0 on Fourier microscopy to be attached on every any instrument that it's provided with an ocular port. So, well, they have developed this technology, and there's venture capital that is really specialized in deep tech and in transfer technology from research centers and universities. And they founded this company 2 years ago, and we are now really close to have a minimum viable product to deliver to the industry. So well, we talked to Opto with Markus. I talked to Markus once. Mm-hmm. I have also talked to EMBL once with Alvaro. It's also here. It's in the meeting also. So we are now looking for partners, you know, in different in the supply chain, you know, customers and also providers or partners that can support.
Give us one challenge, one thing that you really wish people could help you with.
Yeah, well, the most challenging part from us is to point or to identify the champion niche for us, because we are live. We can achieve live 3D imaging of moving samples. So maybe that's one of the big challenges, and also, you know, because this is such a diverse industry with a lot of different applications, you know, to point the right place to be, and, you know, not to waste time on things that we are not, you know, we shouldn't compete.
There's many people are actually taking notes when they were seeing what you were saying. Many people are nodding along. Many people are going to want to contact you after this meeting, so be prepared to answer many emails. Markus, thank you very much for a great presentation. There is going to be a lot of connections to be done here, and we go to the next speaker. Francesca and I share a passion for femtosecond lasers. We cannot hide it. And we go now to one of our favorite companies in this sector, Chromacity. We go to Christopher Leburn. Christopher, thank you very much for joining this meeting. Tell us what we can do for you, or what can you do for us. The floor and the attention of everyone is yours.
Thank you very much indeed, Jose. It's lovely to talk to you. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, you can now see my slides. I was going to say thank you.
Cross the fingers stronger because we cannot see them yet.
No. Hang on then.
Yes, it's here.
Yes. Excellent. Yeah. There we are. So I was going to say thank you very much from a sunny Scotland, but as is traditional, it's rained in the last 30 seconds. So yes, thank you, Jose, and thank you, Epic, for this opportunity to speak. really is much appreciated. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Christopher Leburn. I'm the co-founder and commercial director of Chromacity, and we've been running for a number of years now, developing ultra short pulse lasers, initially for the academic market space. And we originally developed a 1 micron source for the life sciences imaging community. And as the years have progressed, we've developed higher powered versions of that 1 micron source, going from half a watt all the way up to now 4 watts we offer, with sort of sub 120, 100 femtosecond pulses, typically at pulse repetition frequencies of 100 megahertz, but not necessarily. We have some customers who've requested lower pulse repetition frequencies, and we can accommodate that without any issue. And as time has progressed, we have taken that core 1 micron technology and used it in various different ways. One way was to pump an optical parametric oscillator, which is what you see on the left there. And that's a tunable source that spans the 1.4 to 4 micron region. And that's a laser system that's really been picked up by the spectroscopists of this world and those academics who are looking at interrogating photonic integrated circuits. So we've gained some real great traction with that product there. And then on the other side as well, on the right hand side, we have frequency doubled our 1 micron source to now offer a 520 nanometer source. So that's a green light source that has been used more often than not in the quantum text space, looking at generating entangled photons in the visible and also in the near infrared. So that's kind of really a short overview of our product portfolio. But I'd like to come back to the 1 micron source because over the years, we first developed this source to try and excite as many fluorescent markers as possible. And the image here on the left illustrates the typical kinds of fluorescent markers that are used, particularly in single photon and 2 photon applications. And what we decided to do was to try and bring a laser product to the marketplace that could help those earlier career academics who can't necessarily afford yet the all singing or dancing tunable TISAF systems of this world, but could they afford something that has maybe a few limitations, i.e. it's fixed wavelength, but still do something credible and useful with that kind of laser source. And so we worked with members of the IGMM, which is the Institute of Genetic and Molecular Medicine at Edinburgh University, to demonstrate those kinds of capabilities. So the image on the right here, as you can see, is liver cells that have been expressed with red fluorescent protein, yellow fluorescent protein, and green fluorescent protein. And what we were able to demonstrate is that you could excite all 3 of these most commonly used fluorescent markers from this single fixed wavelength laser source. And whilst it's difficult to pick out maybe those green fluorescent markers, they are there. And the image on the left here demonstrates that. So we've split out the 3 individual channels of the chloroplasts that were stained with red and yellow fluorescent proteins, and the nuclei of the cells were stained with GFP, and we've done that to great effect. But we also recognise that that's not the end of the story, and we've been working with cardiologists at the University of Glasgow as well, looking at making sure that the pulses that arrive at the sample plane are as short as they need to be, or as suitable as they need to be in order to generate enough 2 photon signal. And so what you're looking at here on the right-hand side are red fluorescent markers. They're sort of calcium markers to allow them to look at the electrical signals across the heart cells. And what's been nice here is that we've been able to use, so we have dispersion optics built into the laser head of our laser source that allows you to alter the dispersion at the sample plane. And this is becoming an increasingly important aspect of image acquisition. You have to get the right dispersion management techniques in place in order to get the sharpest images. And these are capabilities that we now have integrated into our laser systems. And I think it's fair to say that we're now looking at application spaces where output powers are important. So things like light sheet microscopy, and also those kind of optical setups that use holographic devices and SLMs, where you need the higher powers. That's really where Chromacity's high-powered systems really come to the fore. And so that's kind of the space we're in. I'm really interested with the slide that Francesca showed at the beginning, showing the full supply chain. And I think it's fair to say that Chromacity would like to be involved in as many partnerships and collaborations with end users and partners. And so really fascinated to see what comes of this meeting today. So Jose, I'll hand it back over to you and thank you very much.
Thank you, Christopher. Actually, you give it back to me because we alternate.
Well,
if you didn't notice so far, this is almost the last meeting, and then you will realize some tricks. So thank you very much for your contribution. So I have to say, you mentioned the EPI question, but you were a bit too broad. Let's say, if we talk about the supply chain, with whom really, where do you have a couple of challenges that you would like to talk with the people here in the room?
Well, I think we'd very much like to listen to the microscope manufacturers of this world to understand what specific technical requirements they're looking for, not only now, but also in the future. We have our own ideas about where we think the technology can go next, but we want to hear it from those companies and those end users. The previous speaker was talking about champions. Well, those champions are really important to us to understand where they see the technical specifications going forward next. So it's really those kind of connections that we'd like to make, really.
Very good. So then we will, I guess, listen to someone. If someone has a question, because now I don't see any hand, it could be the time to introduce Alvaro, right? Alvaro for EMBL. Alvaro, are you there? Yes, there you are. If you unmute yourself.
You can hear me, right?
Yes, exactly. Very good. So, Alvaro, it would be really nice to know why you are here and what the EMBL is doing actually in microscopy.
Sure. I can actually share.
Yeah, you're welcome to share. If you go, there is a button, a green button on the bottom of the screen. Yes, something is coming. Very good. Yes.
Yeah, so you now can see the presentation.
Yeah, perfect. Yes.
Okay. So thanks for letting me introduce ourselves. So we are really the end users, right? So I'm actually the head of the microscopy facility at EMBL Rome. And just to give you a brief overview of who we are, so EMBL as an organization was founded back in 1974. It's a cross or pan-European institution, so we have more than 27 members this very moment, and we have 6 sites, so Barcelona, Grenoble, Hamburg, Heidelberg, Hixton, and Rome. So the unit where I'm in charge of the microscopy, so that was established in '99. We're essentially focused on 2 main topics of research. One is neurobiology, the other one is epigenetics. We have 8 groups. Roughly, we have about 50 different users per year. We have about 8 microscope systems, everything from light sheet, spinning disk, structural illumination, single molecule localization, wide field systems, and slide scanners. Just briefly to mention, so what our interests are. So we are very, very much interested in the visualization of neural activity, either because we use 2-photon microscopy or because we implant mini microscopes on 3D behaving animals to really try to understand the neural basis of behavior. So we do here, as well as in Heidelberg, microscopy development. So some groups are actually dedicated completely to push the really sort of the field. We're also interested in trying to automate some of the complex microscopy workflows that we do, whether that's, could be called adaptive feedback, to integrate it with things like microfluidics. We are also, so our unit is particularly interested to image large volumes. So for that, having a sort of a nice module to do adaptive optics will be great. And essentially, sort of automation, microscopy development, and sort of implementation of modules that allow us to do large volume imaging would go into the establishment of pipelines for what is called a spatial transcriptomics or a spatial proteomic profiling of tissue that has applications in personalized medicine, as well as techniques on single molecule application. So with that, I want to just bring you back to the first slide. So that's my email, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. I mean, Alvaro, that's, I guess, the first meeting with EPIC, right? And
yes.
You put already the Christmas list, that's what Jose calls it. So everything you like, that you would like to have, collaboration that you would like to have. So perfect EPIC style, very good. And in perfect EPIC style, I would ask, well, first we have, I would like to introduce Samuel to you, right? That Samuel maybe now can speak, because we talk about adaptive optics. Did we check your microphone again?
Yes.
Very good, very good. There you go. So, do you think there is room for collaboration with Alvaro?
Yes, I guess. Well, Imagine Optic is a supplier of adaptive optics components, wavefront sensor, deformable mirrors, and subsystems. And I would like to understand exactly what is your experience in that field already.
Yes. So I started here about a year ago. I contacted, so I haven't seen that many companies. So what I knew, I had this company in Grenoble, which I don't remember what it's called. This very moment. Alvaro, exactly. So they had an add-on for a confocal. So most of the imaging that we do here is fluorescence, and you want to obtain sort of the perfect volume. So either in light sheet, confocal, spinning disc, whatever. And this is essentially where we would like to push things, right? So not only in, let's say, close to the cover slip, we're talking to visualize, so the perfect, 100, let's say, I don't know, 50 to 100 micron volume. And that's where things get a bit difficult. So Alvaro was promoting add-on to a confocal, which didn't really perform to expectations when I visited the company. And so that's essentially where what I've seen so far, market-wise, let's say, company.
I see. So I think we can discuss after the meeting.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. That's the principle. So Alvaro, are you getting how it works here? There will be a lot of answers to give and emails to write afterwards. So are there others that would like to satisfy Alvaro already to his wish list? Because if I see you're all quiet, but Alvaro, don't worry, we will catch up with you with the rest of the EPIC members as well. And also, maybe I would like to ask you a comment about this, maybe the first two talks that you saw, so Opto and Lux from ICFO technology. Do you have some comments on these portable devices also for industry application? Do you have some idea, or did you have some comment about them?
So at the moment, I guess I'm trying just to process all the information. I might come back to Chromacity in terms of the lasers for 2-photon. We actually have 3 systems, so that might actually be of use. And concerning the Opto, I was also interested to hear what they're doing. Potentially that might also be good to build or to sort of automate some of the processes that we're implementing.
Very good. But we also go back to Chromacity because Lucas from Light Conversion has a question. So maybe you can ask it yourself, Lucas.
Maybe I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So, Christopher, yeah, that was, I was really interested in your dispersion compensation or pre-chirping module that you say you integrate right into the head. So I guess the question would be the following, because traditionally you would expect dispersion control to be something that the microscope takes care of. So moving this to the laser head is a bit of a novelty. So one part of the question is what other aspects you think would serve well to be moved from, let's say, the microscope to the laser, and maybe then extending this to the microscope manufacturers. The same question, what did they think would need to be part of the laser in the future rather than being left for the microscope integrators to take care of. All right.
I'm happy to pick up on that. Nice to meet you, Lucas. I think fiber coupling is something that's often discussed with the end users. I think that's something they look for to improve their beam steering directly into the microscope setups. How that's achieved with the higher powered laser systems that are coming through whilst also maintaining dispersion through those fibers, I think is something that needs serious consideration, but it's an important feature that I think is coming down the track. I also think, you need to tie that with reliability, stability, et cetera, and that's key to the end users.
Yeah, well, I guess we can call those not additional, but core features of the laser. Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. So if there is no other questions, as I suppose, because now you are so many, I have to scroll a bit, but it looks good. So now you're all quiet. So it's time to, in this quietness, to leave the floor to LAMBDA-X, right, Didier?
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
I'll share my screen. Should be the case. Okay, I'll leave it like that. Okay, hello to everybody. So a few words about us. So we are, try to make it smaller here. Okay. So we are a company making different engineering service. We have our own products on the left here for quality control of ophthalmic lenses. But we develop a lot for third party in many types of sectors of activities, from space to biology. And we also have developed over the years a new contract manufacturing capability where we build for third parties different type of product that they develop or that we contribute to industrialize also. We are active in ophthalmic market, in medical industry, space, security, many sectors. So what about microscopy? Microscopy is one of the activities that we have developed in the past for building custom instruments for universities or for companies, where we help people to come to the market with products, or we build just prototypes for some dedicated applications, here for the Ghent University or here for Ovisio company. We are active in contract manufacturing in microscopy also for the company Ovisio, where we have extended our capabilities for production here with new clean rooms. And also in microscopy, we are active in developing new instrumentation based on hyperspectral imaging. So this is a camera that we developed since a few years that is based on Fourier transform spectrometer for every pixel. So we get 4 megapixel up to 4 megapixel spectrum analysis at one time, I would say. So it's very fast, and we can boost this to a resolution that is suitable for Raman. So that's, I guess, the only Raman that is full field, capable of taking 2D images of a sample and getting a very high resolution spectrum of down to 8 centimeters to -1, which correspond to 0.13 nanometer for physicists. So it's very fast because of that, and we are now on the point to bring this to some customers, and we are trying to develop some application for this, whether it would be in pharmacy here for looking at different components, or in quality control of contamination control for other industries here with other partners. We have been also attempting to use this camera for fluorescence spectral imaging, and we look partnership for this. So what you can do for us is develop applications for this instrument. You see on the right, this is the latest camera on the top here that we have developed. with Hamamatsu sensor, but so the low noise CMOS sensor are important. This device can also be extended to the sphere. We never did, so if you can provide us on loan a camera, I would be very happy to test it. And obviously we need components like lasers, so high power, because we illuminate the complete sample at once, so we can put a lot of power on the sample before to destroy it. But it must be quite narrow band. Well, that's easy for a single line laser, but multi-line is also good until it remains lower than the resolution of the instrument. Obviously, we also we think that hypercube data analysis is becoming more and more important, and it's being more and more popular because of the processing power that is increasing with time. So we need some expertise in there. So if you are able to help us in there, this is also very good. And we are open to discuss commercial distribution if any of you is interested in distributing the camera or a complete system based on it. So that's it for us. Thanks to all.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah, all the way from beautiful, beautiful Belgium, looking for partners and giving us a fantastic, fantastic shopping list. I really want to come again to visit you as soon as this whole thing is over and we can travel again. I want to stop by and talk to you. But in the meantime, I really want to find some of these candidates for your beautiful shopping list. Is there any question from your company to LAMBDA-X? You know how it works. If they don't ask, I ask. I'm going to go for one of the key suppliers in S-Weir detectors. I'm going to go to new imaging technologies. And he was smiling. You know, he's smiling. He's thinking, I knew he was coming to me. Then why didn't you raise the hand? What can you do for LAMBDA-X?
Yeah, so thank you, Jose. So yeah, we can definitely provide a wide range of in-gas-based cameras. So you'll see later in my presentation that we have a pretty wide range. So we definitely can help you in that field.
So that's important to mention also that this camera is the interferometer is suitable to work from 400 to 1700 nanometers. So in principle, we could have a very, very high resolution, spectral resolution on any wavelength. So that's depending on the sensor sensitivity.
No, yes, that's definitely something we should discuss.
Okay.
When it comes to the laser sources, you were talking narrow band, less than 4 centimeters minus 1 CW lasers. What you want is not available in the market, or is it, what is the challenge on this?
The challenge is the price, basically, because you can find this on the market. It's not not complicated, but we target wavelengths. Yeah, the common one is 532. That's common for raman. It's also common to go to 785. This is maybe less common in 1 watt laser, or 640 is also available, but that's still quite expensive. So the system here is in general should not be that expensive compared to other confocal system, Raman confocal system. So the price of the laser is a key element, obviously, for the final price of the device.
I don't like talking about price, but you're looking for something cost effective, obviously. Yes. So I'm going to go to one of our people here who can maybe help you on this. We have Focus Light in the room. Kurt, how are you doing today?
I just had to unmute. I'm doing fine.
So my friends from LAMBDA-X are looking for a partner.
Yeah, certainly. If there are some things we can do, I mean, we're a diode laser manufacturer and packaging, as well as a micro optics company. So we can combine diode lasers with different types of micro optics for different illumination schemes, and maybe do other things for you as well. But I've only been with Focuslight now for about a month and a half, so I'm relatively new. But I've spent some years in the industry and have worked for companies like Yen Optic and some other folks, Coherent. So I've got a little bit of background in the industry, and lots of experience in micro optics and beam shaping and that type of stuff. So as those type of things come up for you folks, please let us know and reach out, and I'll do the same. I have to admit, it's kind of a crash course in Epic right now. I'm learning a lot, but I'm enjoying it. So thank you.
Yes, remember the whole thing is what can you do for them, what can they do for you? But in the case of Focuslight and Limo, it is very, very clear, and you guys do a fantastic job. There is a question in the room from Markus from Opto.
A small question here. So what I saw from the component side, it's a quite basic setup at the moment. So we became exactly in this point towards companies when others want systems out of this, smaller, more compact, working on new technology. So that's maybe a possibility to scale up quickly, to bring up more know-how into some devices for some customers. So feel free to contact Opto, no problem.
Okay.
Fantastic. I would like to go to another topic that we have gone very quickly from. I'm going to go back to my very good friend from Nikon, who I met last week in LinkedIn, René. Thank you very much for joining once again. In this meeting, we have a lot of companies very active in the field of ultra-fast lasers. So we have companies like for example, this one, Valo Innovations. Valo, Olivier, is you there? Olivier,
yes,
what do you do in the field of ultra-fast lasers?
So we are a quite new company, and we're focusing on very short ultra-fast pulses, which means we are offering systems with pulse durations down to 40 femtoseconds at different power ranges from a few hundred milliwatts up to watt level. And yeah, we also implemented in our systems directly a dispersion compensation module to make it more suitable for the applications. And yeah, that's what we do.
We have a very, very impressive set of companies. For example, in Poland, there is a company called Fluence. Hey, Darius, how are you doing?
Yes, thank you, Jose. Very good.
What do you do in the field of ultra-fast femtosecond lasers?
So what do we do? So we do all fiber lasers, which is pretty cool, and we sell in ultra short, not as ultra short as Valo Innovations. So very good job with that. Yes, so we do all fiber, all in small boxes, as small as possible. Very reliable, robust to vibrations, and well, we're doing our best to listen to the market and to give you what you want. So if you have anything you have in mind, what you need, just talk to us, come to us and ask, because we have really good team of 20 people here waiting for your requirements. So just let me know what you need.
René, these two companies are two of the ones to watch in Europe. Very, very promising companies. We have a new one today. We have from Lithium Laser, all the way from beautiful Milano. How are you doing, Alessandro?
Fine, thanks.
I don't know anything about lithium laser. I know everything about the 40 femtosecond short pulse, about the amazing stable pulses of Fluence. I had no idea what you guys do.
I mean, we produce and manufacture ultrafast laser for also non-linear microscopy. Non-linear microscopy. So, I mean, we have different approach, different from others. Basically, we produce solid-state ultrafast lasers. So we concentrate on very clean soliton pulses. So we produce, let's say, soliton mode locking resonator, where pulses are very clean. We concentrate on avoiding pedestals in order to increase the signal to noise ratio when you use the laser for nonlinear microscopy experiment. And basically, we're also developing a compressor for GDD compensation to optimize the signal at the target level. And yeah, I mean, we provide slightly higher pulse energies up to 125 nanojoules at 1050. Basically, we have a standard product at 1050 nanometers. And now we are developing a multicolor laser that can emit like 960 nanometers up to 1200 nanometers and 1050 altogether in the same box.
Grazie mille, Alessandro. And all these young startups, but we also have very well-established companies, like my favorite guys from Vilnius, Lithuania, Light Conversion. Thank you very much for a beautiful mug that you sent me. You know, it changes color. When you put the hot water, it changes. Quite amazing. But apart from beautiful mugs, what could you do for Nikon?
So light conversion is, I guess, mostly known for optical parametric amplifiers, so wavelength converters. Those you would use if you have a laser, but you want to change its wavelength. So I guess that is primarily our core strength, is what we do best. We also make industrial grade high power lasers, femtosecond lasers now as well, and those you can get for up to 40 watts and even more now. I guess, well, perhaps this is a microscopy crowd today, but some spectroscopy was mentioned. What we also do, we also make kinetic spectroscopy equipment, so femtosecond transient absorption spectrometers. Yeah, and I guess that's about it. Yeah.
And in the field of supercontinuum generation, we have NKT Photonics, which is one of the coolest companies that we have in EPIC, all the way from Denmark. Thank you very much. Could you tell us also what you could do for a key company like Nikon?
Yeah, so I think maybe staying a bit of general terms. So you mentioned rightfully that we do supercontinuum lasers, amongst other things. We have a huge portfolio of types of lasers that we develop, from femtosecond to picosecond to nanosecond type lasers, and these exotic types of lasers called supercontinuum lasers, which is a pulsed white light source. So out of a fiber, you get the entire spectrum from 400 nanometers to 2,400 nanometers, and each pulse contains the entire spectrum. So any microscope application that needs light at any wavelength in that range, we find often is an attractive target customer for someone like us.
So as you see, René, we have really great companies in the laser business. Is there any thought that comes to your mind in terms of possible cooperation, collaboration, challenges?
Not at this time, because I'm really inventorizing all the new and smaller companies, and also getting familiar with the European structures. But this is a wonderful opportunity, and all the speakers, I would like to already thank you for giving me such a great impression. It's really important to have this kind of meeting.
They are really great companies, and we really want them to be introduced to the right people at different companies. I could mention a few, but today we have Nikon in the room, so I will make these introductions later so you can really introduce in the right path, because we really have to understand what are really the needs from the giants in the sector. And I'm gonna move on with the program now, because Francesca is looking at the clock and say, Jose, you're speaking too long. I want to finish on time, so I'm gonna go back to Belgium. I'm going to go to Phasics. I'm going to go to our friend Valentin Genuer, who is going to tell us about the field of sensors and detectors for the microscopy sector. The floor and the attention of everyone is yours.
Perfect. Hi, thank you, Jose, for the nice introduction. Let me share my screen. All right, perfect. Thanks, just thank you for all the EPIC community, like Jose, Francesca, for organizing this, and I would say offering us the opportunity to present here today. And also, I really appreciate like the energy that you put in, I say, animating like this network of great companies. So it's really something awesome, and we really like it. So since we are pretty new, we just joined this EPIC community just 1 month ago, I think. I will just go maybe a bit further into details about the company, Phasics, what do we do? So I'm Valentin Genuer. I'm a business developer for Phasics Corporation, which is the US branch of Phasics, which is a French company, maker of wavefront sensors. And today, since it is a meeting on microscopy, I will focus on our applications to microscopy. So basically quantitative phase imaging. So Phasics first at a glance. So what we do is that our core competency is to make wavefront measurements. So measuring the spatial phase distortions of any beam in the optical spectrum, from the UV to the long wave infrared. So what we do is basically wavefront sensors, so tiny cameras like this that measure those wavefront distortions. You can add it to a microscope to enable this quantitative phase imaging modality. And we also do test stations to measure the optical aberrations of optical systems, like a classical interferometer, measuring all the transmitted wavefront error of filters or microscope objectives, for example, something that we do as well. So we are based, so all of our wavefront sensors are based on a patented technology, which is basically lateral sharing interferometry. So at the beginning, Phasics, it's a spin-off between two French labs. And we are, so as Joseph said, so it's pretty well established because we are created in 2003. So Phasics headquarters are in Paris, and we have this US branch here in San Francisco, where I am based right now. Then basically we have a strong network of distributors in Europe and Asia to support all of our clients worldwide. So we have this one technology here, so lateral sharing interferometry. We make wavefront sensor, and you can apply it basically to a lot of different application areas. So I see that we have a lot of laser manufacturers. So basically what we do is that we do laser qualification, so measuring all the wavefront distortions of laser, measuring the beam parameters. It's like a beam profiler, but you have all the wavefront distortions as well. Then what we do is also all what is related to optics metrology. So let's say you have, for example, filters for microscopy. So we measure the transmitted wavefront error of those filters at the design wavelengths. This is something pretty unique. And we also qualify all type of different optical systems. But then today, I wanted to focus on our application to microscopy. So basically, we do what we call quantitative phase imaging. So look, at the beginning was describing another type of technique to enable this type of modality. But basically, you can apply this to life science. So measuring cells, measuring tissues, but you can also apply it to materials, like when you have a change of refractive index inside a material, or measure, I would say, features on a surface as well. So let's few words in quantitative phase imaging. What is it and what it's useful for? So we have this wavefront sensor that you can plug on any conventional microscope. So let's say you have a change of refractive index in a materials. What we will measure is that we will measure what we call the optical path difference, which is the delay that the light experiences as it goes through material. And so what does that bring? So QPI, it brings first a great contrast. This is something is very important, but also what is mostly important is that it brings quantitative measurements, which means that you have a real value in nanometers about the different features you have in your sample. And what is QPI with Phasics, with our technology, is first is a technology that is achromatic. So it works with any kind of light, so any wavelengths, but also any kind of light source, whether it is coherent, like with a laser, or also non-coherent, like a LED, for example, or white light, halogen lamp. And as soon as it is compatible with the sensitivity range of the sensor, we are also non-sensitive to polarization, which is something really important depending on the sample you want to measure. And it's up to date, the easiest technology to integrate for, I would say, production lines, even to do quality testing on production lines. So then, as I said, you can apply this technology to different areas. So first you have life science. So here's examples of cells. Basically, since you have a quantitative measurement, you can measure and monitor across time the dry mass of cells, which is pretty interesting today, for example, to do drug testing, especially with this COVID-19 pandemic. You see a lot of more people wanted to do cells, I would say, drug testing experiments to see how cells react to the infection by the virus, for example. Then you can apply this to material science. So if you want to measure surfaces, if you have change of refractive in a material, like a waveguide, for example, this is a green lens here as well. And then we have like more advanced, I would say, R&D projects, which is called photothermal imaging. Basically, you just excite a bunch of nanoparticles at their plasmonic resonance frequency, and then it generates some heat. It generates change of refractive index. And since we are sensitive to this change of refractive index, we can basically give the temperature, which is something a bit more, I would say, R&D level. So if we wanted to answer, so what Phasics can do for Apex member in microscopy is basically we offer, I would say, the most easy to integrate QPI solution, and also all the expertise in wavefront measurement that we acquired since our creation back in 2003. And what we are, I would say, looking for in this area, in this field in microscopy, is that so far we really have this change to collaborate with top, I would say, academics, laboratories, industrial leaders on breakthrough technologies and applications. And we really like, and we are eager to always test new samples. You see a lot of different of interesting and very, I would say, advanced applications that are trendy today with a lot of different new materials, new applications. So you're always eager to test new sample and see how far we can go, how far we can push this technology and help you, I would say, releasing reliable products. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to show you today.
Thanks a lot, Valentin. Very good, very good. So that's a really good presentation. You already put also what you would like to give to EPIC members and what they can do for you. So very good. And now we have maybe some questions from the audience, because otherwise Markus is really quiet, but he's writing in the chat. So Markus, you can maybe ask your question or yourself.
Yeah, the question is how you're qualifying your technology for quantitative measurement. Do you have a special phase target, or do you see a need for such targets?
This is actually a very interesting question and awesome question, because the idea is that there is, as far as I know today, there is no, I would say, standard for phase measurements. So we had discussion in the past with the NIST in the US to see if we could create such a standard. So what we do today is that we have some sort of calibrated sample. It's basically, I would say, patterns that are engraved in glass or more durable material like a sapphire, for example. So we know the dimensions, and you can basically, I would say, use this calibrated sample to make sure that what you measure is true. But today it's something that we, I would say, would like to bring also to the communities, have a gold standard for phase, calibration of phase measurements. So yes, indeed. So all those companies, so that we have Lincetech as well in this room. So it basically, so what we would need is really like a phase standard to say, okay, we are all at the same level, and we have these calibration targets, and we can start from good points.
Yeah, come on, let's have a chat later, because I mentioned to you in my presentation that we are doing targets and we are working on a phase target. So, but we need a little bit more input from people, how to produce it and what their specific need is. We have an own need for such things. So that's why I want to ask. Okay, come back to you. Thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. So now we have maybe a question from YouTube. So Jose, you are unmuted? Yeah, you're muted.
Yes, we have a question from the YouTube universe. Thank you, Jan Vermeeren, to ask. He had a question for Phasics. He's wondering, do you see an advantage in non-square grid image sensors?
Oh, sorry. So can you? So I'm not sure I understand the questions.
Do you see an advantage in non-square? Non-squares.
Mm-hmm.
Think about round, think about triangle, non-square grid image sensors.
Okay, so far the idea is that we only integrate, I would say, regular sensors that you can, I would say, find in the markets. So far, I would say I do not see any interest in having something non-conventional in terms of shape for the sensor, but that's something that could be maybe useful if we think about the dedicated applications, maybe yes.
All right, so Jan, if you want to get in touch with the speaker, just send me an email and I will make an introduction. Back to Francesca.
Thank you very much, Jose. Now I wanted, if there are no other questions. Yes, look, there you go.
Yeah, thank you. Great presentation. I was wondering, you're using a filter in front of the camera, right? So how challenging is the fabrication and the quality, I guess, and also how easy is it to scale in area and size?
Because that's a good question. So it's basically at the core of I would say the technology that we have. It's basically the design of this mask that we put in front of the sensor. So I cannot share because this is very at the core of our competency is the design and be able to have I would say a repeatability and reproducibility in the terms of design and scalability of this mask. But this is yes, that's typically a good question, and this is something that is at the core of our technology. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Now, if really there are no other questions, I guess maybe we can introduce Yves from ListenTech, that is also there and is looking for how to unmute himself, I guess. Yes, there you go. Welcome Yves, also from my side now in the meeting. And would you like to introduce yourself and maybe your company as well?
Okay, well, more important, my company than myself. Somehow I'm the CEO and co-founder of it. We also make QPI, quantitative phase measurement for both material and life science. So we also make lensless system. If you go on our website, you will see that's something that we already do for many, many years, actually. Where our main application are in life science. We have both a module that we can add on existing system, as actually Phasics just showed. We already have standalone system. So we are activity in research, but we also have an OEM activity where we supply system for integration. We have system for medtech industry for quality control and roughness of parts. We have application for instant metrology in watch industry, in semiconductor, in solar cells as well. So it's also a big part of our business, which is not on the website because people usually don't want to tell that we are working with them because it's that's it. But it's also a big part of our program. So we have R&D application as quality control and production. Main thing is that we can capture information without any scanning, neither lateral, nor vertical, nor phase shifting. Our frame rate as for standard microscope is to 194 measurements per second, and we can reconstruct topography at that speed. If you look at our newsletter and so on, we lately even have some application when we measure at 100,000 measurements per second, so very quickly to look at non-reproducible transient phenomena. So we really are in this business where speed is very important. We have a big part as well when we synchronize our measurement with MEMS system up to 25 megahertz, so we get a full field of view measurement up to 25 megahertz for gyroscopes or whatever. So, well, it's difficult, I have nothing prepared, but just visit our website. You will see many applications. I think that the part on application is full. There are many applications. So just go on it and see what we can do. And of course, revert to me for any question.
But if I bet on the website, there are not written the challenges. So maybe you can mention one little challenge for this audience and that can help you with, even if you're not prepared.
No, I'm not prepared. What I can tell is that we are so fast that we don't, if we have a screening for quality control and production, we don't need to stop the sample to measure it. So acquisition can be as small as microsecond or something like that. So we can grab information instantaneously over the full field of view without stopping any sample. And this opens many applications for quality control and production. So that's basically where we are. And where we're looking for partners, there are so many applications of our technology. We have a very flexible technological platform. We can quickly adapt our system to other technology. Therefore, we are also looking for partnering because we cannot do everything alone.
Okay, very good. So then, you know, all the people here can contact you. So also let us know afterwards. Very good. So now maybe it's time to go back to our agenda. And so it's time for Martin now with this talk, not only for questions, right? Very good. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. And so thank you, Francesca. Thank you, Jose, and all the EPIC team for these meetings. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, all good.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm working at NIT on new imaging technologies. So a quick overview of the company. So we're based in France, in the south of Paris. The company started as a CMOS sensor company, but for quite a few years now, we've been focused on SWIR InGaAs-based sensor and cameras. So what's quite unique about NIT is that we work over the whole supply chain. We start from the sensor design all the way up to the camera manufacturing. So this control over the whole supply chain allows us to have a very modular and flexible allows us to offer modular and flexible solutions to our customer, and also very cost effective. So first of all, for the let's go through the basics. So what's the SWIR or shortwave infrared? So when we talk about InGaAs-based sensors, we typically talk about wavelengths ranging from 0.9 to 1.7 microns. So this wavelength range has a very wide field of applications. So it can go from solar cells or any silicon-based products inspection. So silicon has the great ability to be transparent above 1.1 microns. So that's perfect applications for InGaAs sensors. So you can have a beam profiling applications, any microscopy application with so also fluorescence imaging, etc. So very wide range. So we now have quite a vast, a lot of different products in the SWIR range. So we go from, so these are our basic products, let's say, and we're able to customize them depending on your needs. So we have quite a lot of options around these designs. So here's our basic option, which has our patented logarithmic response, which allows to get a very wide dynamic range of 120 decibels. So that's a small uncooled camera, so typically used in broad daylight applications. So typically not the best choice for microscopy. So that's why we developed the Weddysense, which has both this logarithmic wide dynamic range response and the state-of-the-art high sensitivity linear response. And this camera has a one-stage TEC cooler to just regulate the sensor temperature. And our newest addition to our product line is the HypeSense, which is typically great for microscopy applications. So this one only has a linear response, but it has been optimized to give the highest sensitivity possible and the also very low dark currents. All of this in a very cost-effective and compact solution that is really easy to integrate on any existing microscope assembly. So what you get is typically a peak contour efficiency of 90%, less than 1,200 electrons per pixel per second of dark currents at -20. So most InGaAs sensor will require a much deeper cooling to reach those values. So which means a bigger camera, more constraints, and also more expensive. So in this camera is only is less than 350 grams, and also has a very modular design. Because, for example, typically some microscope users are afraid of air-cooled cameras because of potential vibration issues. So that's why we designed the camera so the fans assembly can be easily mechanically decoupled from the rest of the system, so to avoid any potential issue with the air cooling. But so far, any of our customers had to do this, they never had vibration issues. So we also, with all of our cameras, have a pretty wide software offering with our own software, SDK, and for microscopy applications, a Micromanager adapter. And so, yeah, this definitely is a very cost-effective and versatile solution. And I think that's the best price to performance ratio on the market for an InGaAs cold camera. So, yeah, here's a few example applications. So here, typically InGaAs, a great application of this technology is in vivo imaging with fluorescence imaging. So the advantage of the SWIR band over the traditional visible band that has been used for the past 20 years is that it shows stronger transmission, lower scattering, and commercially available and FDA approved dyes already exist. So these dyes were initially designed for lower wavelengths, but they actually work better in the SWIR band. So that's a strong point for this. So here's an example of a simple microscope assembly with our camera and some shots of some fluorescence in vivo imaging. So another example that highlights that the benefits of going from 900 nanometers to 1300. So definitely a way sharper image and more contrast. And so yeah, last application, so typical silicon inspection. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin, for your talk. So you ran. I know there is this time pressure, but
yeah.
it's good to be on time. That's a good example. But that means you missed the epic question. So you joined a couple of minutes more for what can you do for them? What can they do for you?
Yeah. So yeah. So what we can do for you is, as you saw, offer a wide selection of SWIR cameras and a flexible platform that allows to adapt to your specific application. So we can offer from wide dynamic range to high sensitivity cameras, from 100 nanoseconds exposure to minute-long exposures. So different communication interface, modular mechanical design, a cost-effective solution. So yeah, that's definitely what we have to offer. And what you can do for us is, so as I mentioned, we work on the whole supply chain from the sensor design to the manufacturing of the camera. So obviously we need some partners to do that. So we are definitely always looking for partners at every key step of the process. We're also looking for system integrators to use our products and offer a wider range of solutions based on our camera, so to be able to offer products more focused on an application. And last thing is definitely we'd like to discuss your application with us. If you need to work in this wavelength range from 1.9 to 1.7 microns, we'll definitely be happy to discuss it with you and let you know what's the best we can offer for your specific needs.
Very good. So you used your good 2 extra minutes, but they were worth it. So Didier has a question, please.
Yes, I have a question regarding the soon coming of the Sony chip on the market. How do you see this introduction of a very big player like Sony in this market of the SWIR?
What we think is that this will definitely allow a growth of the market, and the thing we're not. I mean, Sony will. It's still we still don't have any actual performance data on what they are gonna offer, so we don't really see this as a threat for us, because as I said, we really have a flexible supply chain. I mean, we're just not integrated someone sensor in our camera. We are really able to tailor our solution to our customers' need. So yeah.
You could envisage to produce camera with those chips?
That's not something we think about for the moment.
So thanks a lot. And also for this exchange, we have questions on YouTube. So
yes, we do have a question on YouTube from the YouTube universe, a company in Belgium Caleste. They are fantastic. Thank you very much for joining EPIC. They have a question for NIT. They have a question about your bioimaging examples. They're wondering what happens if you do not use contrast enhancement.
I mean, if we didn't, I don't think we used it on those image. I mean,
he's asking if the blood vessel was in fluorescence.
Yeah. I mean, that's where simply fluorescence imaging. There's no particular processing on the images, just typical fluorescent dye and an excitation and a visible excitation laser.
Fantastic. Caleste is a great company. I'm really happy to engage them to you. Back to Francesca.
Yes, thank you, Jose. Now, do we have still question for Martin? So you seem all quiet. So we might then go on with the program in that case, and it's time for Asphericon and Sabrina, right? Nodding. Unmuting also. Yes, something is coming. Yes, and I hear click, so I assume the microphone is also on. Or maybe not. Sabrina, if you go down, there is unmute. Down on the, yeah, there. Now I see your cursor. Down on the left. Yeah, there. Oh, you're back.
Now, yeah, I had to stop sharing because I did see the microphone.
Very good.
With the shared screen.
Now I guess you will go very smooth, right?
All right, then let's hurry up.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
So thank you for the introduction. Yes, 5 minutes are not long, so let's get started. For all of you who don't know asphericon, we are an optics company based in the center of Germany. And as the name already tells you, we are mainly, or our core competence is in manufacturing aspheric components. The main industries that we serve are listed here. And as you can see, there's a big part of the metrology where lots of microscopic applications are involved. And of course, the medical sector with all the life science where a lot of microscopical applications are involved as well. As I said, our core competence is manufacturing aspheres, but that's not all that we can do. As you can see here, we are the ones that you should ask if it comes to very challenging optical components. We can manufacture freeforms and toroids, but not only as single components, we can also deliver the whole system around it. And that means that we can provide you with the service from the optical design to tolerancings, characterizations. We could do the metal parts in-house and also do the metal designs for that, the mechanical designs for the metal parts. I would like to go a little bit more into detail into our beam tuning elements. And the reason for this is the beam tuning elements are a special product group. And one of the products is a beam shaping element. And we focus on this element here on the right-hand side, which we call the top shape. The top shape is meant to convert an incoming Gaussian beam, as you can see here on the pictogram, into a top hat beam that is a collimated top hat beam, which will give you a nice homogeneity in the range of 300 millimeters at least, but up to several meters if you go for the long distance version. And why do I show you this product in more detail? We have heard about fluorescence microscopy in this meeting here. And if you're working with fluorescence microscopy, you might face these challenging or these challenges. So you have a Gaussian beam that will give you the higher light in the center and then less light in the periphery, which will cause a position-depending resolution, and you will have a stronger photo bleaching effect of your cells in the center. And this makes it very difficult to analyze the pictures that you get with your fluorescence. But if you now implement the top shape into your setup, you will get a flat field illumination on your specimen, on your cells. And this will then lead to a picture that you see down below here on the right-hand side, where all the images are nicely and equally illuminated, and you don't see the stitched together borders anymore. The setup here was done by University of Central Florida, and we have published a paper together with them. So if you're interested in that, I can definitely send this to you. But the beam tuning family with those products is bigger than just the beam shaping elements. So there are also beam expanders, fiber collimators, several adapters to use them with cross system elements. And you can also use them with all our stock elements, which means you can use them with our lenses, with asphericon and A cylinders, because they are all available as a mounted version. And why do I tell you this? Because if you can use them all together, you can mix them as a plug and play solution, so kind of like a Lego system. And then you can get all these different applications as you see here. They are just some examples out of the pocket what you could get, like adjustable ring foci, or you can get ring illuminations, and you can optimize your illumination, and you can go below the diffraction limit. Or you can even create elliptical versions or lines. And since microscopic applications are sometimes very challenging and have so many efforts, maybe this is something that could help you in your application. And as I said, they all can be changed in the mix and match principle, because they are all very modular. So you have kind of a Lego system that you can use just by ordering it directly from us. Yeah, what can we do for you? I hope I could show you what we can do for you. We have first-class optical components that you can order very easily and can implement them in existing setups. And what can you do for us? Sorry. I mean, we are always interested in what does the market need? What are the applications that you have challenges with? So just let us know, and we would love to help you with that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. Thank you, because first of all, did I ever congratulate you on your YouTube channel on the beam?
Yes, I think you did, but thank you for doing it again.
Never enough. You know, if anybody has the chance to go to the beam tuning by Asphericon playlist, she is doing a fantastic job making beam tuning easy. The demonstrators are really fascinating. I love seeing these videos. I really wanted to do this for you. We'll see. We can find you some partners. I'm gonna go first to objective manufacturers. We have an objective manufacturing company here in the room. It's a Riedi International, all the way from beautiful Netherlands, from beautiful Rotterdam. Gerwin, goedemiddag. How are you doing?
Goedemiddag. Hello, everyone. Yes, actually, Riedi is only in the field of Raman spectroscopy. We do tissue and cell characterization by means of classical Raman spectroscopy, mostly in the red and near infrared part of the spectrum. And what we found is that there are actually no good objectives available commercially for this region, who are really optimized for this region, not just have an anti-reflection coating for the near infrared, but really optically, aberration-wise, fully optimized for this region, which gives a huge advantage when you do Raman spectroscopy in this spectral region. So we've sort of been forced to specialize in designing and making these objectives ourselves, which sometimes, because we like the very high numerical apertures, can be quite challenging. And I know that in the past we have looked into using aspheric lenses because they can reduce a lot of the complexity. I think that must be some years ago, we have been in contact with asphericon briefly to discuss this, but it's certainly worthwhile, I guess, to revisit this also because of the examples that you gave using the asphericons to make ring illumination, etc. It's something we're actually looking into right now. So
Yes, and we I can tell you that we are also working on improving our hexagons, because it's always very important to have a very good tip so you can better align them, and you have the best throughput of the light that you give into them, because if you can't align them very well with their tip, it becomes tricky. But we will have a new product for that coming out soon. Plus we are working on having better tips as well, so maybe we can I think I have your contact details, but then we can share a little bit more information, and maybe you can do us a favor as well and test some of the elements that we have there in that place.
yeah, that sounds good. We should refresh our
yes
mutual information. Thank you.
Yes, please,
Welcome.
Sabrina, you had to send some optics to Riedi for testing. And
Yes.
I really would like to have that. People exchanging materials, send samples to each other. This is something that we really love at Epic. I actually willing to pay for the postage myself to make sure that this happens. Furthermore, Gerwin, I want to ask LAMBDA-X, because LAMBDA-X has a, if I know well, you have a 2D Raman, fast Raman spectroscopy solution, right?
That's correct. Yes, this is what we are working on for the moment. Yeah.
Is there the idea that we just got that there are no good microscopy lenses or microscopy objectives in the market for Raman?
So we have not working now with very high numerical aperture objectives. So the field of view we are looking at for the moment for the samples we have are more mesoscopic in a few millimeters. So we have not been faced to application that requires very high numerical aperture at this stage.
Gerwin, do you have a couple of applications that require very high numerical aperture in Raman?
Basically all, because you're always looking for signal.
Yeah, that's correct. But the field bandwidth, so the étendue of the system is limited. So if we increase the field of view, we have to reduce the numerical aperture. It's always a compromise to make.
Yeah, I think LAMBDA-X and I met in Amsterdam last December.
Yeah,
so I think the Corona sort of interfered with our plans to have some mutual visits, but it's surely still on my agenda.
It is 1 hour drive. You need to make it. Furthermore, Sabrina, I want to see what Markus and you can do together. Markus, in the beginning, we had your presentation. It was clear that you are open for many negotiations, so many possible business opportunities. In the field of high-end optics, is there any particular challenge, added value that you could do with asphericon?
Yes, absolutely. And we just started to get in contact and planning a meeting. So it's running.
Fantastic.
I only have had time to respond.
The reason why I'm pushing a little bit more for this than normal is because I do believe that in Europe right now we have the best free-form spherical high-end optics in the world. Hands down, the best lenses, micro optics, freeform optics in the world. Companies like Limo, like Asphericon, they really are making a huge difference worldwide. So whenever you have any challenge on a particular lens, on a particular optics, contact our optics experts at Epic. We can make the right introductions, but also contact the companies like Asphericon that can really help. They're making a huge difference in this industry. Sabrina, danke. I hope we can see each other again soon when we can travel again. I really cannot wait anymore. Let's continue with the program. Let's move on. It's been so far a great meeting with lots of business opportunities. I want to go to our next speaker. I want to go to the field of black coatings. I want to go to ACM Coatings. Thank you very much for being with us today, Alexander. The floor and the attention of everyone goes to your observance, goes to you.
Thank you, Jose. Thanks for having me. I am now hopefully sharing my screen. Can you see it? Yes, very good. So we are ACM and Coatings. We are dedicated to very black coatings and coated foils to suppress stray light in optical systems. Or to absorb laser power and also to create high emissivity surfaces. Myself, I'm a studied precision mechanical engineer and working in photonics since 15 years now. I'm the CEO of ACM, and we are the German and European subsidiary of Actar. And they are an Israeli technology company, and we serve every market that is using photonic technology. And microscopy is one of the important applications ever since we started with our coating technology. Epic presentations are always about questioning ourselves and yourself. So that's why I've organized my presentation into questions. Why you should use black coatings in your microscopy application and how you can use it and implement it. And finally, we will talk about the epic questions. So why black coatings for microscopy? As the microscopy user needs a perfect image and a perfect signal quality, a maximum contrast, and also as low as possible background noise. It's also high signal strength is critical for a fast detection and image processing. And our absorbing coatings can help to improve on the hardware level, starting on the hardware level to improve signal strength in any microscopic and analytic system and application by suppressing and absorbing scattered light in the optical path, but also increasing the image and signal quality by reducing noise and background from the signal. And very special of our surface is that there is no autofluorescence signal coming from it. Our coatings are reliable and are harmless to use. They are biocompatible and also complying to RoHS and REACH regulation. How you can use that? How you can work with our coatings. We apply the coating within a proprietary vacuum deposition process to achieve a high absorption rate in a broad wavelength range. There are two main product ranges how you can make the coating use of. One is the direct coating. That means we apply the coating to your optical or optomechanical component. This can be a very complex shaped optomechanical or optical component, but you can also use a coated film that wears the coating with the same coating technology, but it's done in a roll-to-roll coating machine. As I already said, the coating is absorbing light in a very broad wavelength range, and we have already spoken about a lot of applications, not only dealing with visible light, but also with infrared light, and our coating is capable of absorbing light up to 17 micrometers. We can apply the coating to any material that is vacuum compatible. So nearly all metals can be coated, but also glass, ceramics, silicon, also temperature resistant plastics are possible. It's relatively thin, and a very typical application is the coating on sharp edges like apertures. Field apertures, striate apertures within the system. On this slide, I just want to show you where you might use the coating. So you can use it. What is obvious, you can use it in the optical path, as you can see over here, for broadband stray light suppression, and also to have a covering of your system with a zero autofluorescence coating to get the best possible contrast. But you can also use it for coating on a disposable level. That might be somehow new for you. So we have already done applications on disposable level for probe carrier slides and well plates to either realize a black high contrast background, but also, or in addition, to supply a high binding surface structure. So both applications can also be combined, and this might be very, very useful and interesting for all of you. Getting through the presentation, coming to the epic questions, what can we do for you and what can you do for us? I hope you could find some solution in my presentation, how we can help you solve your topics to make high performance optical systems possible. We apply the coating as a service, but we also do complete manufacturing. Means so we caring for the mechanical machining of parts in the coating, and we can for sure supply you with coated foils and die cuts. So what can you do for us? As most of us, and we have heard a lot of this, always looking for new applications, new application ideas. And we are also looking for test and qualifications under various demanding conditions. So especially if there are very demanding environmental conditions for the coating is very interesting for us. Looking for R&D collaborations and projects, also to improve our coating performance, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alexander. So let's make epic stuff together. That's a good motto for us. We can also keep it for as a reminder. So is there someone that now wants to do the epic stuff? I see Didier is really like, oh, Darius as well. Whoa, let's start with Didier then. Epic stuff number one.
So thank you for this presentation. So I understand ACM is a distributor of ACTA in Germany for Europe, or do you also intend to produce in Europe? Because as far as I know, it's produced in Israel, which brings some legislative restriction. We use this nice coatings for space projects, but we cannot use it in any way we would like to because of those legal restrictions. Is there any plan to move the production in Europe?
At least there are some ideas, but you're right, the direct coating facilities are in Israel, and we do not have coating facilities here in Germany. But I can say to you, if you do the project and order processing via ACM, we are dealing with all legislative topics. So we are also successfully within defense projects, for example. There are options to do so. We are typically do not handle systems, but only on a component level. So there are also options for these challenges.
Okay, so we should go through you instead of going directly to ACTA.
It could be an idea.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Alexander also answering legal questions. Very good, very well prepared. No, not really, but he's already offered the solution. Then Darius.
Yes, so my question is, of course, because we do ultra high power lasers, right? So how difficult it is to damage your surface of your coating with our laser?
Well, I always say the best solution would be I send you a sample. Jose pays for the postal service, and you simply test it. So it's really depending on the wavelength range and on the specific mode of the laser. Just to give you a number, at 1064 nanometers CW, we have a LIDT of in between 500 and 1000 watts per square centimeter.
Mm-hmm. And second question, have you tried putting it into a vacuum? So what's the pressure what vacuum level you can get to when you coat like entire vacuum chamber, let's say?
Yes, so our coating comes from the vacuum chamber, so it's easy to get it again in. Our coatings are qualified for ultra high vacuum up to 10-12 millibars. I can also send you some more details about the qualification for this, but absolutely we are in a lot of vacuum and high vacuum, ultra high vacuum applications with our coatings, especially if you need it as a high emissivity surface, for example.
So there is no risk of outgassing or anything
not from the coating itself. It has a relatively big surface area, so a specific high specific surface area. So there could be water on it, but typically you would heat that out before putting it into the chamber.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. That's brilliant.
Most welcome.
So now the question from my side is, maybe we know already it's really needed for high power, so we saw all the specification, but we have also application today. We heard about using LEDs. So when the power is not so high, or anyway, not like Darius for sure. For example, look from ICFO. Do you think is something that you might need as well, a black coating from Alexander, or is there application in your also little device, because you are also trying to be compact?
So I think it would totally be interesting for us to also use such kind of coating. Until now, we are not sensitive enough to any disturbance from that side, because due to our system, we compensate for that, but for sure it would help. So yeah, totally.
Very good. So then, Alexander, you have another address to look at.
Thank you.
Very good. So are there other questions to Alexander or other comments? Because there are other laser companies that we didn't ask today. So maybe we ask Melissa from Cobalt. What are your impressions from this meeting, and why are you interested in attending? You are muted. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for including us also in this meeting. This is my first EPIC meeting. And I've recently changed positions here at Cobalt, working in product management for our lasers and life science. So personally, it was relevant for me to hear a little bit about some of the other companies, and also just re-engage a bit when we can't be talking to each other in conferences. And for us, we're of course, so we're manufacturing lasers primarily in the visible spectrum for fluorescence microscopy and flow cytometry primarily, but also Raman spectroscopy in our other applications for other lasers. And from my side, I'm interested in some of the new applications, new technologies, as well as opportunities for integrations and ideas about ways of simplifying and making more compact optical assemblies for microscopy.
Melissa, in the beginning of the meeting, we had a great presentation from LAMBDA-X from Didier, and he mentioned a comment about SLM. Would you like to comment on this?
Oh yeah, it was only the I believe it was a narrow line laser interest related. I can't recall if it was from Raman or not, but we have our diode lasers were highlighted at some point in the meeting, and then we also have the solid state lasers, which are used primarily in Raman spectroscopy and interferometry. So any of the techniques relying on those are also relevant.
I'm also willing to pay for the postage of any laser that you want to send from Sweden to Belgium. I'm okay with that. Remember, just contact Francesca, and she will give you all the details for the payment. We're happy to cover this, definitely.
We work together already.
Suddenly it became Francesca gives you the information. No. Jose promised it to people. Remember this. You listen very well. Jose offered, not we, but he. He's the good guy of Epic. So
yeah, but
so,
we need to send down some I Love Laser stickers for you.
Oh, these are also nice. This you can send it to me as well. Very good. So now I guess we only miss Konstantin. Konstantin, you have to say something today from Toptica. What are your feelings today?
Sure. Well, also for me, it's the first Epic meeting. Very nice. Thank you for organizing it. And very much like Cobalt, we also manufacture all kinds of lasers. We manufacture diode lasers, femtosecond lasers, femtosecond fiber lasers, actually in very many different flavors, from very low power to also high power, which is very interesting for multiphoton microscopy, all the way through very scientific lasers for the physics scientists. So I had a couple of very interesting talks today, especially the coatings from Acta are something that might be interesting to integrate into some of our lasers in some parts. So,
so it was the right time now to ask you. Otherwise,
yes,
it would have been too early then.
Exactly. Especially also the damage threshold would be my question, because I'm thinking of like a shutter that could be coated with that, which would be very interesting.
Very good, very good. So then,
no,
now,
but let him answer that, because that's very interesting also for me. Can you comment in the laser-induced damage threshold, Alex?
Yes, I already did. We have measured a lot of laser-induced damage threshold in the past. We have a whole website dedicated to this. And yes, shutters for laser application is a very typical application. So in the range in between 500 watt, 1 kilowatt at 1.06 nanometers, micrometers wavelength, just as an example, but it's really depending on what laser wavelength range, what mode you are using the laser, and so on and so forth. But we have a lot of information, and I'm very willing to send also to you a sample on the cost of Pozo.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you see, Alexander got it correctly. He says always that Jose does it. So now it would be time for AHF, but before we give the word to Michael, it would be nice to hear from Peter. What are your ideas and comments about this meeting? And then we give it to Michael. Don't be mad at me, but Peter, what are your feelings? You with your background and.
I hope everyone can hear me. Yeah, my background is microscopy and confocal microscopy and slide scanning, and I've worked for Nikon, Leica, and Olympus in various roles. At the moment, I'm kind of a microscopy consultant, and I work mainly with AHF, who are kind of like-minded to myself. Alex Krause, who worked for Olympus in a similar kind of role to me, and Michael is a kind of super filter expert. We're kind of slightly different to most of the people here. We're not real producers. We are distributors, although we do make some of our own products. So hopefully Michael will come up with a interesting talk next. And it's been good for me because a lot of things I don't know about. Some of the laser stuff is very interesting. And I've been making notes. So it's very interesting talks. Thanks for originally asking me to speak, and thanks for allowing AHF to participate in this talk.
You're very welcome. So good that we take notes, and there is always some possible collaboration also afterwards. We heard someone needs also to absorb the information, and then so yes. Then it's time for Michael.
Thank you.
If you are ready, you can share your screen.
Yes, I'm trying it.
Yeah. Yes, it's coming. Very good. The floor is yours.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for, giving us a platform for talking about our company and what we are doing. Yes, AHF is a quite old company, I would say. It was founded in the beginning of the 80s of the last century. And we have now more than 35 years of experience in the field of the optical filters, mainly for fluorescence microscopy. And I would like to give a small overview about our company and what we can do for you. Okay, we see us as a solution provider. As Peter said, we don't manufacture by ourselves. We work together with very renowned companies like Chroma Technologies, Samrock, IDEX, Aluxa, Lumencore, QLED, or Excellitas. And we are doing optical filters, mainly for fluorescence microscopy, Raman spectroscopy, and all kinds of laser applications. We have components for the ultra short pulse lasers, dichroic mirrors, laser blocking filters, and all kinds of filters you can imagine, from very narrow bands from, let's say, 0.15 nanometers up to, let's say, a notch filter which only blocks a laser wavelength. We have LED light sources, mainly for fluorescence microscopy in our portfolio, which, yes, cover the whole range of wide field microscopy. And one big part of our companies are the customized filters for any kind of fluorescence modules, like for point of care instruments, even in the industry for laser welding, just to control the whole process. We can do filters for machine vision and so on. And I would like to give you only a small example about matching filters to light sources. Here is an example. This is a multi-band filter sets. You can see 4 bands here, and LED light sources. And LED light source, which consists from up to, in this case, 6 different LEDs in the spectral range. And let's start at around 400 nanometer. We match this filter to the, let's say, 395 nanometer LED line. And due to this perfect match, you can generate very bright and images with a high contrast. And as you can see here in the background, this gray line, these are common lamps which are used in fluorescence microscopy, like metal halide light sources and so on. The LEDs are a little bit different in their peaks and in the shape of the peaks. They are mostly broader, and therefore these filters has to be adapted. We can do it also on the OEM side, like doing it for the LEDs, which has to be used in an instrument. And of course, I can't show you all here because sometimes it's secretly made for those companies. But this is a common filter set we can provide, let's say, from stock. I hope that I can give you a very small overview. We can offer you a solution from a microscope down to, let's say, very small built OEM modules. We can handle all kinds of interference filters in different light paths, even if the incoming angle, the angle of incidence and cone half angle is not 0 degrees. And I hope that we can give you an overview what we can do, and feel free to ask us for any kind of filters, for any kind of light sources, and we're trying to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael, for a great presentation. The first of many, I hope, the first of many. So this is an epic meeting. We are looking for partnerships. We are looking for collaborations. What? This is the epic question. Can you have an answer for what can they do for you and what can you do for them? What kind of collaborations can we make with your filters after this meeting? Which kind of partners out of these people could be the ideal partners for you?
Yes, I think we are in contact with some of the laser companies. We can offer, let's say, dichroic mirrors for laser combining and so on. We are in contact with, let's say, OEM manufacturers for optical modules. And these are the interesting companies for us. Mainly for high-end optical filters, which are very steep, which has a deep blocking, mainly for, let's say, fluorescence and Raman spectroscopy.
Fantastic. Let me see if there are any kind of questions, suggestions, room for collaboration after the presentation from AHF. Everybody wants to go, but we can go at any time. This is a great opportunity. Is there I love always to identify the room in the supply chain. So I have here who make optics, companies who make optics. Is there a potential room for collaboration with AHF? Do you work with optic suppliers? Can you do something with asphericon, Michael?
I think we are in contact with asphericon.
Yeah, I think so too.
They need filters, of course. Yeah.
You know who really need filters? The companies that make lasers that actually illuminate a whole band of frequencies, a whole band of wavelengths. Do you know a company like this? I know one. It's called NKT Photonics. NKT Photonics is in Denmark and they make supercontinuum lasers. Is there any room for collaboration here? Do you have any challenges when it comes to perfect filters?
Perfect filters. That's a good question. What is a perfect filter?
A perfect filter is one that is exactly flat like a square like this, and it filters without losses a wavelength band exactly.
So we are very interested in anyone who can make a filter that's tunable over 2000 nanometers.
Oh, I think that's hard to handle.
That sounds very perfect to me.
That's really hard to handle. I think every interference filter is tunable, but some of the filters will lose their shape. If you have linear tunable filters, I think you can't have this deep blocking, which, yes, common interference filters do. We had a series of angle tunable filters which keep their shape, but the spectral range was, I think, if the filter starts at 900 nanometers, it was 110, 120 nanometers. But this series was stopped by IDEX right now. I think it's hard to make filters which show these broad range.
Yeah, don't we know it?
You know what else? There's a question from Luke from ICFO. Luke.
Yeah, I wanted to know, you are also manufacturing or selling light sources, right? Do you have like multicolor LEDs and also fiber coupled LEDs?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I think we have a light source which has 8 sources in, and this can be fiber coupled. It depends on the diameter of the fiber. Which diameter do you need? Sometimes I think if it's a very small diameter, let's say 100 microns or something like this, you should go to lasers, and we also can offer you a laser source for that. Yeah. If it's, let's say, a millimeter, you can easily go with LEDs, yes.
Great. I will contact you later. Thanks.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Do Do you know what is also very interesting from NKT Photonics side? You are interested about the filters, but also perhaps you're interested about the beam shaping solutions. We heard the presentation from Asphericon, but maybe you don't know another company in the room. A company is called Labs. They are based in France. I really like them. And Arnaud, who I know him for a long time from a different company. I was very surprised that you're here presenting Labs. So congratulations on your new job. But what does Labs do in this beautiful market, which is microscopy?
Okay, so microscopy is interest for us as a new area. Today, Labs is working mainly in telecom, spatial telecom, industrial lasers, and we have the potential of doing good things in microscopy. What can we do is we can have some beam shaping of the laser of the incoming light onto the samples you would like to work on, and we can really have any beam shape you need, and we can also mix different wavelengths, different lasers with different beams onto the sample. So we think that it might be able to open maybe new application or improvements, and that's something we are really looking at, and we're ready to talk about this kind of application in microscopy, and we will be very pleased to.
It is great to have you here. Any beam shape, any shape, these guys from Labs can actually make, from high power all the way to telecom applications. It's one of the ones to watch in the European ecosystem. It was a great meeting. You know, for those of you who have followed this series, I always choose a person to give the final remarks. From this meeting, I'm going to go to Thor Labs. I'm going to go to Christoph Schiller. Christoph, how are you today?
I'm fine. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear. 2 hours and 20 minutes. We're going to finish on time. Francesca is smiling, which sounds that it's going to be a great end of the meeting. Tell us, Christoph, what is the final remarks, the learning points, and the rooms for collaboration that you have spotted from Thor Labs side?
Well, Thor Labs makes lots of components and systems in the optoelectronics field. And so I have been busy taking notes and copying all sorts of slides into my email, which I will distribute inside the company. So for me, that was very valuable. And I hope that we can generate some value with the companies I have copied the slides of. And surely my colleagues, or even myself, I contacted one company as well, AHF, would be interesting for us, especially for my own group. So we are hoping to generate business out of this.
That's the purpose of these meetings. Christoph, do you want to see my notes? I also took some notes, and I always like to share them. This is how my brain looks like after a meeting like this. The first learning, it was that from Nikon and from other companies in the chat privately, there is a big interest on two-photon microscopy, especially ultra-fast laser, femtosecond laser for two-photon microscopy. I must say I was really happy with this quick round that we made on ultra-fast lasers, and we have amazing technology, but I really want to highlight the first 3, 4, 5 companies we have in this list. Valo, Fluence, U2 are two of the ones to watch. Chromacity is making fantastic solutions. Toptica is a giant on this. We had a new one coming. The objectives, and I really like the technology of Riedi on Raman spectroscopy, and they say that there are no good objectives in the market for high NA is because they know it, and I think this is something that I hope there is a strong collaboration with LAMBDA-X on this. I love the technology of asphericon from beam shaping and tuning, and also the one that was just presented by Labs. I think we have really great technologies here. On the black coatings, I really love the application for straight light suppression, which is something that I have discussed offline with one of the companies that was not in the meeting but was sending WhatsApp during the meeting. And also I really love the technology for the filters for the LEDs, these multiband filters, and we talk a little bit about different SWIR and CMOS detectors, Phasics, NIT. Thank you very much. I saw 3 big market trends. One of them was the standalone inline microscopy that has been developed quite strongly, the business plan behind the new startup of ICFO, or the custom OEM module manufacturer on LAMBDA-X shows that this is a strong market trend. The second one is new 3D microscopy solutions that are cost effective. And on this, I really love what the short presentation that we have from DOIT, the 3D micro eyepiece that they actually can put in any microscope and transform into a 3D microscope. And the third one, which is something that Francesca loves and I love as well, hyperspectral imaging is here to stay. It's becoming very cost effective, not only in microscopy, but in any field in which we need inline process monitoring. Another epic meeting. Only one more to go, Francesca. On Wednesday, we go on holidays. Thank you very much. For those of you active in the automotive sector, we have companies like Fiat, Ibeo, Audi, all of them talking about ADAS and autonomous driving solution on Wednesday. But now, have a fantastic evening. It's 5:23. We finish on time. Please make sure you contact each other and continue being epic. And if you have any postal cost for sending your samples to any partner, send it to me. I'm here in the Netherlands. Take care. Bye-bye.
Very good. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.